Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel where we break down complex legal concepts and cases into simple, understandable terms. Today, we are diving into a fascinating case from Singapore's legal history, Man Financial and Wong Bark Chuan David. Let's start with the basics. Mr. Wong Bark Chuan David was the managing director and CEO of Man Financial Private Limited, a brokerage firm. In 2005, he stepped down from his role after negotiations with the company. Following his resignation, both parties entered into a termination agreement, which included two key restrictive covenants. Number one, a non-solicitation clause, clause C1. This clause prohibited Mr. Wong from soliciting the employment of the company's employees for 7 months. It also contained a non-competition clause, which I shall call clause C3. Which prevented him from advising or engaging with competitors for the same period. In return, Mr. Wong was promised a substantial compensation package, including shares and a goodwill payment. But here's the twist. Man Financial alleged that Mr. Wong breached these covenants by soliciting employees for a competitor, Revco. As a result, they withheld his compensation, prompting Mr. Wong to sue. There were three major questions in dispute in this case. Number one, did Mr. Wong breach the non-solicitation clause by soliciting employees to join a competitor? Number two, was the non-competition clause reasonable and enforceable? Number three, even if there was a breach, was Man Financial justified in withholding Mr. Wong's compensation? Both sides had compelling arguments. Mr. Wong argued that the restrictive covenants were unreasonable and an unfair restraint of trade. He also argued that the compensation was unrelated to these clauses, so it should still be paid even if there was a breach. On the other hand, Man Financial, his former employer, argued that the restrictive covenants were reasonable and necessary to protect their legitimate business interests, such as retaining a stable workforce. They claimed Mr. Wong had indeed breached the agreement by actively soliciting two employees and advising their competitor. Now, what did the court decide? The Court of Appeal reversed parts of the trial judge's decision and held the following. In respect of the breach of the non-solicitation clause, the court found that Mr. Wong had indeed breached the non-solicitation clause by soliciting two employees for Revco. More importantly, the court interpreted the clause broadly, focusing on the position solicited rather than Mr. Wong's role. Number two, the Court of Appeal deemed the non-solicitation clause reasonable and valid. It protected the company's legitimate interest in maintaining a stable workforce, particularly in a competitive industry like financial services. Number three, the enforceability of the non-compete clause. The Court of Appeal ruled that the non-compete clause was invalid. The Court of Appeal found it too broad in scope and lacking a clear connection to protecting the legitimate proprietary interests of Man Financial. Number four, compensation withholding. The Court of Appeal stated that since clause C1, the non-solicitation clause, was reasonable and was indeed breached, the court held that Man Financial was justified in withholding the compensation. They emphasized that this clause was a condition of the termination agreement, meaning that any breach entitled the company to withhold payment. This case highlights the balancing act courts face between protecting businesses and ensuring fairness in employment contracts. From a legal perspective, the judgment reinforces that restrictive covenants must protect a legitimate interest, have to be reasonable in scope and duration, and not to overreach to stifle competition unfairly. For employers, it underscores the importance of drafting clear and reasonable terms. For companies, it underscores the importance of drafting clear and reasonable terms. For employees, it's a reminder to carefully review such agreements before signing. If you found today's breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more legal insights. And as always, if you have any questions about legal concepts or cases, leave them in the comments below. Until next time, take care and stay informed.